Anytime.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, to follow on my previous comments and to respond to many of the comments made on the minority side, there are those on the majority side representing the coal fields of this country that recognize we must as a nation aggressively pursue strategies and technologies to capture and store the carbon dioxide that results from coal combustion. There are three provisions of the Natural Resources Title which seek to accomplish that goal. The first is a national assessment of the geological capacity for carbon storage, focusing on deep saline formations, unminable coal seams, or oil and gas reservoirs capable of accommodating industrial carbon dioxide. The second initiative directs the Interior Department to devise a regulatory framework for conducting geological carbon sequestration activities on federal lands. This is extremely important. Extremely important is certainly considering the future actions this Congress may take in this area. In the event a suitable geological formation is identified on federal lands, there currently exists no clear-cut authority to allow that activity to go forward. The third is the biomass utilization program established by this title. One of the purposes of this program is to develop biomass utilization for energy, including through combustion with other fuels, such as coal, to achieve cleaner emissions. This is especially important in our continued efforts to develop a viable coal-to-liquids industry in this country to counter imported oil. Expert studies and tests show that when coal is mixed with biomass in the coal-to-liquid production process, it will produce a cleaner fuel at the tailpipe than conventional gasoline. In conclusion, on our Title VII of the Natural Resources part of this bill, I'd like to highlight provisions which aim to restore the public interest in the management of our federal oil and gas resources on federal lands. A number of GAO and Interior Inspector General investigations made it abundantly clear to our committee that the taxpayers are not receiving a fair return for the disposition of their resources as a result of royalty underpayments, various schemes, and outright fraud. The Natural Resources Committee has been very aggressive in pursuing these matters. There is a fiduciary responsibility to the American people involved here, and if the Interior Department will not fully exercise it under this administration, then those of us in Congress on our committee, provisions of this title will bolster federal audits and provide expanded tools for requiring compliance with the payment of oil and gas royalties. This is simply good government. Our portion of this bill provides for transparency, accountability, and a fair return to the true owners of these federal lands, the American taxpayer. No longer can we allow the American taxpayer to be ripped off, to not receive their fair share for the disposition of their resources. No longer can we allow cronyism, fraud, and abuse exist in departments of our Interior Department. Again, I conclude by saying that the natural resources portion of this bill is a good bill. The underlying bill is a good bill. I salute our Speaker, a true leader, who has addressed the concerns of many members of our caucus, who has an intimate grasp of the details of this legislation, and under her leadership, under Speaker Pelosi's leadership, we are advancing in this particular legislation energy independence for this country, a freeing of our reliance upon foreign unstable sources of oil that only imperil not only our national security, but imperil the lives of our young men and women. This bill helps restore that integrity and that independence, and I would urge adoption of all my colleagues of the underlying bill. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman